Hello and welcome aboard our Beer and Back Again flight over the Myrtle Meadows Hop Farm. As you can see by the field of green, we're here to talk about a little ingredient with big impact, hops. Myrtle Meadows Hop Farm is nestled just outside of Pemberton, BC, a quick 25 minutes north of Whistler. On our journey today, we're going to learn a thing or two about where this ingredient comes from and how it reaches our glass. With that in mind, let's hop to it and introduce the team bringing this ingredient to a brewery near you.
Welcome back to another episode of Beer and Back Again. We're here in Pemberton, BC at the Myrtle Meadows Hop Farm. I'm joined today with Ilko and Sarah. Ilko is a horticulturist and he's also the management of growing, harvesting, and everything hops related here, and he's been gracious enough to take myself and Sarah today around the hop farm and tell us about hops. So Ilko, first question, what is a hop?
The hop is probably the most interesting plant I've ever come across. The hop is related to marijuana. It's a distant cousin. And as with marijuana, hops has an amazing amount of different types of oils, and that's valued in the brewing industry. Yeah, so what is a hop? A hop is basically the flower, the female flower. Very few plants actually have male plants and female plants, where only female flowers or only male flowers are on the plant. And hops specifically are you're harvesting the female flowers. We do not want any males around here.
What would happen if you did have like a male?
The same as with marijuana, they'll form seeds.
Okay.
Marijuana will give you headaches. I don't know what it does in beer.
So we've only been here for 4 years. The Myrtle Meadows Hops is owned by a family out of Vancouver that I've known through the horticultural industry for probably about 25 years. In 2016, they called me up and said, Ilko, we'd like to take you to Pemberton. We want to show you something. And they showed me this farm here. It was 160 acres and another 110 acres just on the other side here. And they said, we want to grow hops. Do you want to take this on? And I looked at the mountains and the sky and I said, yes, I will. And that's really, that's when I started learning about hops. We traveled to Yakima, to Oregon, to Germany, to Czech Republic, to learn as much as possible. Anyway, so it's a very young company. We're learning a lot about the hops. We're learning about this climate, about this location, about the type of hops that can grow here, that do well here. We are on the Lillooet Nation's traditional lands here, and we want to recognize that. And we mainly hire First Nations people from the Lillooet Nation to work these fields, their lands, in the hops. And some of the guys have been with us right from the start. They put up those trellises and are now basically reaping the results from their hard work that they started 3 or 4 years ago. Although the harvest is the most important part of growing a hop, of course, it is really only a 6-week period, maybe a couple days period of the plant's growth. There is so much that goes into getting to that stage. And it's, it is a science. I got a seat for you. You can come sit right here.
What could I say, what could I say, what could I say to convince you? What could I say, what could I say, what could I say to convince you? You're the closest to perfect that I've ever seen. What could I say, what could I say, what could I say to convince you? How did I get so lucky? I'll never know. But I know what I got and I won't let
The process of producing hops, people think it's just harvesting, the drying process and the pelletizing, which is a huge part of getting it into the beer. You've seen already the harvesting that we do with the top cutter. We take the whole vine, the whole plant down. That goes through a harvesting machine, which is very specialized equipment that not very manufacturers make in the world. The one we have is from Germany. What a hop harvester does, it separates the flowers from the rest of the plant. So this is the only part that we're harvesting of the hop. The flowers, the clean part comes out on the one side of the machine, and the garbage gets chopped up and spit out on the other side, blown out on the other side. And then it goes into a kiln. And there's we use the German kilning system, which is a 3-layer kilning system. And the reason why I've chosen that is because when you dry a layer from the bottom with blowing hot air through the bottom, you'll get different levels of drying inside that layer. With the 3-layer kilns, what we do is after a few hours of drying, we drop them down through louvers, and during that process they blend, right? So that happens 3 times before they're dry enough and they come out. At the bottom, they get collected. During that process, they're blended that basically you have uniformity by the time they dry. From there, the dried hops go to cold storage, where the pelletizing happens as well. It's about 4 or 5 degrees Celsius in there. The pelletizing itself is a very hot process, of course, because it's grinding and pressing through a die, and the hops need to be cooled down as fast as possible. Most farms they dry their hops and they bale them. We don't bale at all. Like basically, within 24 hours from harvesting, our hops are in vacuum sealed nitrogen flushed bags into the freezer, because we take the baling process out of it. You want to take hops away from light and from especially oxygen as soon as you can. By freezing them as soon as you can in pelletized form, the shelf life is way longer.
And there you have it, a quick overview of hops from on the vine to harvest and finally pelletization. Thank you again to everybody at Myrtle Meadows for making today happen. Tomorrow, brewing, where we'll be joining Sarah again at Black Kettle Brewing Co. in North Vancouver and use the fresh hops from the day. Cheers, and we'll see you next time.